Well. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Real Fellas Talk Sports. We get
Welcome.
together 15 minutes before we come live, and we have already started to mix it up. So the show should be absolutely off the chain. We appreciate everybody joining us. I am here on a Wednesday at 7 with the fellas, one of my favorite times of the week. And so before we get into the playoffs, and we're going to spend a lot of time on the NBA playoffs, we're going to touch on the WNBA. We might touch on a little bit of NFL and baseball. Before we go any further, let me introduce the distinguished panel. I'm going to start with my good friend from Indianapolis, Indiana, or what we would call the sports capital, the sports of the world or the country at this time, Mr. David Burnett. I don't even have to ask you, but I will. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I just came back from 350,000 people at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the largest sports venue in the world, the largest audience in the world. And I'm cheering on my Pacers who won last night, and we get ready to go win the NBA championship.
I thought it was
so
cool.
I'm happy.
Yeah, I thought it was so cool to have that guy who won the 500 at the Pacer game later that night with the wreath over his head. That was pretty cool.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
The guy who can hit his driver straighter than anyone in this group of four, Mr. Gregory Finner. Good evening, sir. How you doing?
Hey, I don't hit him as long as I used to, but I still hit him straight. Listen, this is man, it's a great day, another great day in the village of Ashburn. And I have to say, I am in a little bit of a slight panic mode. We're getting down to the wire with the NBA playoffs, and we're heading toward the biggest drought in professional sports. So I'm telling you, these playoffs are so good. Every night I'm looking forward to a great game. So yeah, I'm doing great, but I'm in a little bit of a panic mode too.
I agree with you, Greg. I think the playoffs have been absolutely fantastic. Now, the guy I have known the longest, one of the gentlemen of our neighborhood, one of the best athletes from my neighborhood, just a world-class stand-up gentleman, Mr. Larry Ables. Good evening. How's your week going, my friend?
I feel the same way about you, Chuck. Everything's going well. Let's do this.
Good. Well, let's get into it. All right, we're going to start out with the Knicks Pacers series, okay? Wow, what a series. And what a great job by the Pacers. I must make a declaration, get it out of the way right now. I have not been the biggest fan of Tyrese Halliburton. I haven't over the last couple of years. Everyone who watches us knows that. I, too, thought maybe a little overrated, definitely overpaid. I've had to eat my words. He has absolutely been fantastic in the playoffs. He's been fantastic in this particular series, and it was exceptionally fantastic last night. I think his numbers were 32, 12, 15, and 0 turnovers. That's Magic Johnson-like performance in a playoff game.
No.
David, how and why have the Pacers been so effective in this series?
Let me just say this before I speak on what you just asked. Magic Johnson-like. No, Magic Johnson never had those numbers. I just wanted to be clear. Magic Johnson never had those numbers.
Okay.
So that said, the Pacers have done it because they're a full team. They go 10, 11 deep. They have players who can respond any given day. Tyrese Halliburton, while becoming the big star of the Pacers, isn't the only star that they have. He might be the biggest star, but at any given time, somebody can step up. Benedict Mathurin, who's played poorly throughout these playoffs, responded with 20 points in 13 minutes last night. They needed every one of those points. You never know who it could be. It can be Tony Bradley, who's done 5 minutes here and there in the pivot. Pascal Siakam, who had 39 points a couple of games ago. You don't know who it's going to be in any given night, and I'm so proud of these Pacers. I'm Pacer proud.
Yeah, Toppin hit a big shot. Toppin even hit a big shot late in the game for you guys too. Anybody?
Amen.
Yeah, it's a well-coached team. Larry, what's your thoughts, and why have the Pacers been so effective? Or what has been wrong with the Knicks to be in a better position than they are now?
Well, to tell you the truth, all the games have been pretty close.
You're
I mean,
right.
they haven't. I can't really beat up on the Knicks too bad. The Pacers just won the games. They were all close. I think last night was the largest margin of victory.
Yeah, if it wasn't for game one, it'd be tied, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Pacers won game one by 2 or 3 points in overtime. They won game two by 5 points. The Knicks won game three by 6 points. And
Well, let me just say this. I don't mean to interrupt you. If it wasn't for game three, it would be over.
Well, okay. So all of the games have been close. None of them have been blown out. The Pacers just have done better, particularly down the stretch, than New York has. The thing that I like about the Pacers, and I'll say this about most of the teams that are left in this series, is defense.
Yeah.
They play very good defense, and I like their two guards. They pressure. They just put a lot of pressure on the ball handlers when they bring it down. They wear them down, and at the end of the game, it's really hard to keep up with them.
Yeah, they have a deep bench, Larry. I mean, they go 10, as David just mentioned, they go 10, 11 deep in some cases. They were picking the Knicks up at the beginning of yesterday's game full court, which you don't see in the pros.
They've been doing that most of the season. I remember a few years ago, I heard Oscar Robertson say, that's how people they need to attack Steph Curry. And everybody laughed at him. And he kept saying, if you let Steph Curry just come down court, he's going to shoot the lights out. When I see the Pacers play, I think Brunson will do that to them if they just let them come down court. Or I think Donovan Mitchell would have done that. They might have some success early on, but at the end of the game, it has an impact on them.
Another great Indianapolis ball player from Crispus Attucks that you just mentioned there, Oscar Robertson.
The legend.
The legend. Gregory, what in the world is going on in this series? And what's your take either on both sides? I mean, what hasn't the Knicks done and what has been so positive for the Pacers?
So first off, sportscasters and everybody, when they mention Big O, they need to remind folks he was the architect of the triple-double. I mean, the triple-double started with the Big O. So the Big O started that. But I will tell you, so first of all, the Pacers pose such a matchup problem for everybody. Because if you look at the Knicks have really good players, but they can do either or. Like Robinson is a good defensively, but offensively, he's no threat. Everybody that comes on the floor for the Pacers can play defense. They're long, they're rangy, and they can score. They can do it. They can do it all. So they pose a matchup problem for a lot of teams. Halliburton, I think, has been the difference because not only is he their key player, but he's who they look to. So when he's hot, he's cooking. I mean, look, again, 32 points, 12 rebounds, 15 assists, and you forgot 4 steals, 0 turnovers. We got one word for that from Boomerang. Strange, brother. That's a Strange moment. That's a Strange performance. I mean, you just don't, and he's doing it night after night. He's figuring out a way every night to be effective. What I saw in him last year and previous years, if he wasn't scoring, he was struggling to be effective. He's effective on both ends of the floor now through assists. Look at that. I mean, come on. When has he had 15 assists? I mean, maybe he did. I just don't remember it. If he did, it was very quiet. So, and I think the Knicks, when they go past their 7th, 8th man, they don't have much in the way of a complete player. They got a few people that can come in and give Brunson a blow and give Hart. But Hart is the best thing coming off that bench. When you get beyond him and Robinson, things get a little dicey, right? So, I think they're going to struggle until they find some players like the Pacers have that can do it on both ends of the floor, that are long in this 6'8" to 6'10" range that can do everything. They're going to struggle. But the Pacers got their number. This is over. It's 99.
Well, that was my next question to you, David. Can New York come back from this? They're down 3-1. They go back to the Garden tomorrow. Can they come back and make this, get to a game 7?
One more thing, Chuck. One more thing. When you go down 0-2 in your own place to start a series, you dig a hole for yourself that you're trying to dig out of a grave with a spoon. You can't do.
To answer your question, Chuck, it's over. And can they come back? No. Only if the Pacers stop believing in themselves.
Right.
if they believe in themselves. My whole thing this entire season, I think I've been very consistent in saying this, they can beat anybody if they believe they can beat anybody. And I know that's a simple concept, but a lot of players, a lot of teams don't buy into that. You have to believe you can do it. They have the pieces. They have a center who can block shots. They have a couple of forwards who can consistently get points. They have a guard who can distribute and shoot. They have another guard who can distribute and shoot. They got a backup guard who can distribute and shoot. They've got all the pieces. So yeah, the Knicks can win if the Pacers collapse.
Their coach is pretty good too. The coach knows how to push the right buttons too, in terms of when to plug guys in, sub, etc. He's executed that thing so well. They pass and cut really well too.
Yeah.
I've seen them score off of made baskets. The Knicks will score a bucket, and the Pacers will be all the way down the court laying the ball up. I'm like, good grief. Larry, what do you think? Can the Knicks come back from this? Well, and I'll tell you what probability do you give the Knicks on coming back from this?
I think the Knicks have played as well as they can. And like I said, the games have been pretty close, but Indiana's had a little bit more at the end. The Knicks might be able to win game 5, but I can't see them beating Indiana 3 times in a row. I just can't see it happening.
What adjustments, Greg? What adjustments can New York make to kind of?
So here's one adjustment I think they can make. I think Karl Anthony Towns, a la Big Cat, is the most inconsistent, really talented player I've seen in a long time. Now I can't figure out if he's lazy. I can't figure out if he's never won a championship. And now Brunson has won 2 national championships. Hart's won. These guys know what kind of grit and grind it takes to win a championship at any level. NC2A that's big time basketball. But Karl Anthony Towns is so busy doing the Spider-Man and all the gestures after he scores. Like he wants to score more to show off and do his end zone dance than he does to win the game, right?
What's up, Terry Reed?
Terry.
Hey, Terry.
So another gentleman from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Amen.
Thanks for joining us. Hey, Greg, I agree with you on the defensive end, but I think on the offensive end, Cat's pretty good on the offensive end.
When he comes to play, when he has these periods where he's gone, he's not there. But when Big Cat comes to play and go to the basket, he can shoot the 3. He's got a great touch. He makes free throws. He can go to the basket strong, but then he zones out, and all of a sudden you don't see him, and it's like, dude, you got to be in the game every play. When you are the Big Cat, when you call yourself Big Cat, you got to play like a Big Cat. You can't disappear for periods at a time. But I think if he were given Brunson and Hart and OG, if he was giving them more help, they might have pulled off one of those games that they lost at home. But all of them they're just not doing it all at one time.
Right.
Well,
Greg, I think he's been playing well. I think Indiana's just been better. He's had pretty good games.
Well, one thing that it stands out is the fact that, and it's a criticism and it's a praise. Brunson is ball dominant. He doesn't get other players involved, and sometimes they need the involvement. But if he's going to shoot all the points, and he's been unstoppable, I give him that. Yeah. But you got to get other players. You're the point guard. Yeah. You got to distribute as well as shoot. And I think sometimes the players are just cold, and Cat can suffer along with the other players.
That could be, that's one of the things that Kobe said. That style of play is what Kobe said will never win a championship. That ball dominant style of play. He said it will never win a championship, and I think he might be right.
Larry, do you think the adjustment then, given what you guys are now saying, should Cat and Brunson be on the floor at the same time?
I've seen that plus minus stat, but the answer to that is yes. The problem with them on the same side is not on the offensive end, both of them are somewhat defensive liabilities. And the
True.
reason they had that plus minus, because I see games with them scoring, both of them score a lot of points, and they still get that negative part. Then I thought about it, it's because they hunt both of them.
Right.
You know, they'll try to switch off, and neither one of them is really that good on defense.
No,
Right.
That's the
the one.
difference with Indiana. All of their players can play defense.
Hey, Joe, thanks for joining us, my friend. Appreciate that. So if the series ended today, of all the guys we mentioned, Cat, we mentioned Brunson, we mentioned Halliburton and Nesmith, etc., who would be the MVP of this series, David?
It's not even a contest. It's Tyrese Halliburton would be
Well,
the
over
MVP.
Brunson,
Absolutely. I mean, the Pacers are up 3-1.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, part of the problem with everything is, and I know this is going to upset Larry, but the reality is there's a bias for a New York team. You know, media, and I'm blaming the media, which I used to be a member of,
Yeah.
who rarely mention the Pacers, who should have been telling folks about the Pacers a long time ago, but just didn't. New York is not as good as Indiana, period. They're not as complete. They don't do what they have to do. Yeah, the Pacers only lose if they allow themselves to lose, period.
Yeah.
So Tyrese Halliburton is the most important player in this series.
I can't argue. I mean, I cannot argue with that.
There's no bias. I mean, if New York wins, it's probably going to be Brunson. But right now, the person that's closest to Halliburton to me is Siakam. He's
Yeah. That's what I was going to
there's no
say.
answer for him.
It's hands down Halliburton, but Pascal to Rascal. I mean, the dude is that night he shot 39. He was shot lights out. He's actually played well every night. That was his really big night.
30 last night, I think.
He had 30 last night.
At 30 last night.
Yeah.
He's a threat every
But I
night.
think David is on to something. I know we talk about Halliburton a lot, but it's that whole team. Everybody contributes. It's not just, there's one game in this series that Halliburton only had 14 points, and I think they still won the game.
Dude.
So they have such a balance on that team. It's pretty remarkable.
And even Shepherd has come in.
Average between like 15 and 19 points a game. Right. So on any given night, any of them can blow up and get you 30. Sometimes two of them.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to, before we move on to the from this, anything else about this series you guys want? Because I want to take David to task on something that he just said.
I'm ready for you.
I'm going to get back to him in a second. What's up, Kung Fu?
Kung
And we're going to get to SGA in a second, Kung Fu. Okay. Anything else about this series you guys want to add before we move to the next one?
I think we're good.
Okay, David, I want to take you to task on something.
Okay,
now,
please do.
I understand statistically what you just said about Magic not having maybe statistically all of the category numbers that you just mentioned. But there was a game 6 one time in Philadelphia without Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he was a rookie. He played center. He's their point guard, by the way. He played center that night.
I remember that game.
Points. He had 18 rebounds. They beat Philadelphia. They won the NBA title. And so when you say Magic has never had numbers like that.
Well, I understand the point that you're making. I do understand the point. I remember that game. It was a fantastic game.
It's a very good team.
Yeah.
It was a very good team that they beat. And Magic played his butt off.
Thank you.
Because, as a rookie, replacing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was injured.
Yes. When the play, to show you how far the NBA has come, that game was tape delayed. Can you believe that? That was game 6 of the NBA Finals, Philly, LA. The game was tape delayed. It wasn't on live. And I remember when the team got back to LA, Kareem greeted them by saying, "Dang, y'all didn't even wait for Cap to win it all." So that was pretty cool. All right, that's enough of that then. Unless you want to, how about you, Larry? What you think of that? You think that game is comparable to the game that Halliburton had last night?
Oh, certainly. I mean, plus it was a deciding game in the series.
Yeah.
It's been plenty of great games. That was a great.
Yes.
I would have never made that statement. I think Halliburton had an excellent game, though.
But
game.
David, you might be right. All those categories, including the steals and the no turnovers, maybe you're right.
I'm confident in my numbers.
Greg, you any thoughts about that game versus the Magic game versus the Halliburton game?
So again, I probably talk about it too much, but I've been watching Celtic City. I'm on the last episode, and I'm telling you, they had a lot of heartbreaks from Magic and the Lakers. So they had some great years, but Magic broke their backs a lot. They just ran like horses, man. So yeah, I think that Halliburton, I'm telling you, he has found himself. I really believe he's found himself. He doesn't have to score 35 or 40 points, and he doesn't have to have those stats to make the difference. And that's what I think he understands better about his presence now. That's what I think he understands.
Let me just piggyback on that point. Last year, you said, in terms of your critique of Halliburton, and it was a legitimate critique, you said, quote, "I just don't see it. I just don't see it." And you were correct, because it wasn't there yet. It wasn't, he didn't understand what he could really do. And I think now he understands, and he's dangerous now. Confidence is a true elixir.
Given the confidence to do that, that's a bit in Madison Square Garden. You are really taking your life in your hands doing that. So that's a lot of confidence, bro.
Amen.
Next time, just don't do it on a lucky shot. You can do it tomorrow night. But he needs nothing but net.
Right.
All right, let's get into the Minnesota-Oklahoma City series. Again, Chuck, during the regular season, has said, talk to me about Oklahoma City once we get to the playoff, everybody. Because I thought because they're youth, because they were young, that I wasn't really sure that it was going to work out in the playoffs. I just wanted to wait and see. Well, I waited and I see, man, what a heck of a team. And when I say team, a little differently than the Pacers, they're a complete team as well, but in a different way, because they got bigs, their defense as well, great. They go from offense to defense off of steals big time. SGA is smooth as the other side of the pillow, as they say. So they are a hell of a team. So, Larry, in terms of the Minnesota OKC series, what are your initial thoughts, and how do you think that thing's going to end? I know they have a game tonight.
I can't see Minnesota beating them 3 times either. Minnesota, to me, when we were talking about the Denver series, remember I told you that Denver was double teaming Halliburton, not Halliburton, SGA, and he couldn't drive. Minnesota needs to do that against Oklahoma City too. Oklahoma City's doing that against Anthony Edwards, and they're making someone else beat them. But all that said, I think they've had a real great season. They've been very consistent all year. And just like Indiana, they seem to be peaking at the right time too. I think getting by Denver was a really big test for them.
I do too.
That's probably as big as a test as they could have in their journey. Good team, top to bottom, business-like, not very emotional for a young team. A lot of times you see young teams jumping around. Very business-like approach, one game at a time. I'm looking forward to them in Indiana because they have similar styles playing in the finals.
Similar styles, I agree, and a deep bench, both of them. Both of them have very deep benches. I think that's the common denominator. Hey, Gregory, what have you thought about that series so far? And can Minnesota come back? Can they make an adjustment and figure out a way to come back in this series?
Well, last question first. No, it's a big N with a little O. There's no way they come back. I will tell you, I have brutalized the Thunder in past before I was even on the show. I would call in, I would text in, listen, until they win, don't talk to me about them. Okay, they're about to make me eat my words, and I'm actually happy about it, right? I'm happy about it because I want to see SGA get the full deal, right? I want to see him get MVP. I want to see him win a ring, and I don't want to see Daigneault get fired. In these hard economic times, I don't want to see a man lose his job. But I do fear that if they don't win the championship, he may be on the bubble because they have a window. They've knocked on the door a few times, and a lot of times these NBA owners, all the sports owners, are thinking, "Boy, I got this window of time. These contracts are going to be up. I'm going to lose some players. If I don't win a championship in the next 2 or 3 years, I'm done. And this guy, I don't know if he can get me there." So that's what I worry about for him. But I will tell you that the way they play, they
Mm.
come at you in platoons and waves, man. And this dude, SGA, he's the real deal, man. He, those first couple of years, it might have been, well, he may be this. He's still this dude is the real
I'm
deal.
going to ask you guys about a comparable to SGA over the
I
history of the game. See what you
almost-
guys thought
yeah.
in terms of how he compares. David, do you think they can come back? Do you think Minnesota can come back? And what's your thoughts on this series? I'll make one quick point before you answer. The other night they lost that game, I don't know, 128 to 126. Julius Randle and Ant, they did not play that well. They got 60-some points off their bench. Good Lord, Minnesota turned the ball over, I don't know, 23, 24 times. And they still only won by 2, So is there a way that Minnesota, a formula, is there something that Minnesota can do? What's your thoughts on this so far?
I'm not impressed at all with Minnesota's effort. They get blown out from time to time. Ant has not asserted himself.
Nope.
And
Blew them out too.
yeah, they did. And I think OKC was exposed to a certain degree as well. I'm just not impressed with the series overall.
Right.
I think though that OKC is going to emerge and will play, hopefully, my Pacers in what will be one of the best final championship series in the history of the NBA.
Hello. Hey, Larry, so what's up with Julius Randle, right? Against the Lakers, he looked really good. And he also looked pretty good against, who the heck did they beat after the Lakers series? Denver, maybe? Anyway, he looked good. But in this series, he has not looked good. He had a game of 5, had another game of 6. What's wrong with Julius Randle?
Yeah, I don't know. I never thought he was the most consistent guy anyway, But I think he's a decent player. And the game that really jumps out to me, and I'll comment on, I guess it was the last game they played. He didn't score much. Anthony Edwards didn't shoot much, and everybody was crushing him for not showing up. But really, scoring wasn't their problem that game. That game was defense. They put up 126 points. And I'm looking at that. They were forcing other people to score for Minnesota. And I was surprised other people did score for them. But they just gave up too many points. I mean, they got 126 points after scoring 140 the day before. So they're scoring all right, even whether those guys score or not. They look like they look more balanced than I was surprised the low amount of points that those two had when they scored 126 points. I guess they trust on their other players, but I don't know. They just don't seem quite in sync.
I agree with you. We made us a good point, and not to tie the New York thing back, but we thought Tibbs was a defensive coach, and yet he hasn't figured out a way defensively to even to slow down Indianapolis either, and Minnesota hasn't figured out a way too much to stop this OKC team, although the game the other night was close.
I think Carlisle is the best coach remaining, but Daigneault strategically is better than both of those other coaches. Strategically, he's better. The T-Wolves had no rotations on defense whatsoever. I mean, no rotations. The switches were weak. It's like they didn't know that if they get a pick and roll is still a thing. Pick and roll is still a thing, man.
They turn the ball over too much too.
So let me rail on Ant-Man for a while.
Yeah.
Ant-Man, again, is one of those incredibly talented players who hasn't found himself yet. He gets in these arguments with referees over a play that happened 2 trips ago, and he's still arguing about it. And his focus is not on getting the ring. His focus is on himself and being right and being the best. And that's okay, but it's not going to win your ring.
I thought it was more competitive in the Lakers series than he has in these other series.
But if you think about MJ,
that's a strong statement, Greg.
Say again?
That's a strong statement.
Listen, if you think, just watch him play. He instead of doing like Magic and MJ and Bird and even some of the modern players during the free throw shooting or on the way to the bench for timeout, that's when they talk to the referees. They didn't argue all the way up and down the floor 3 or 4 trips. They may have challenged a call in that moment, but this kid, Ant-Man, is still arguing about a play 2 trips ago and not focused on playing the game. So I'm telling you, I think until he finds himself, he's not going to be the leader that the T-Wolves need him to be. He's not going to be.
So let's get back to SGA real quick. In the history, I like SGA, and I really have. And by the way, Harlan and Andrew and Kung Fu and the rest of y'all. Thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate this. It's getting a little heated in here, which I love. We had some good discussions on this playoff. But before we go much further on SGA, and it's my first time to really watch OKC and really watch SGA. And now I start thinking about comparisons to previous players in the league. David, do you have a comparable to SGA? Does he remind you of anybody?
Yeah, he does.
Okay.
He does.
Who does he
And I got to
remind you
go
of?
way back.
Okay.
I got to go way back. And we're old enough to appreciate this, I believe, because all of us are roughly the same age.
Yeah.
Sam Jones,
Wow.
the Boston Celtics,
Wow.
king of the mid-range jumper. He was just ice cold, just so smooth. And again, we're talking late 50s, early and mid 60s, but his game was true. Furthermore, he's a DC man.
Yes,
Yes, he
it is. Yep.
He's a DC man.
How about
So
you, Greg?
my comparison would be Sam Jones.
How about you, Greg? Do you have a comparison as you look at SGA in terms of?
I do, and it's actually two players. So Sam Jones' son actually works at the golf course I played a lot, so I talk to him all the time, man. Just
Wow.
beautiful dude, man. And on Celtic City, one that they asked Bill Russell who he depended on the most, guess who he said? Sam Jones. That's who he did. He said that was the most reliable player he ever played with. Now, for me, SGA is a blend of two people.
Okay.
I see Iceman, I see George Gervin in him, but I also remember when Michael Jordan, 2 or 3 years into the league, Dean Smith did an interview and he said, Michael has developed this mid-range jump shot that he didn't have when he was here. That's really good. Now, SGA is the maestro of the mid-range. That's his name. He's literally the maestro of the mid-range, and that's what did it for Jordan. That's what made him like a super threat. He was already high-flying, just everything. But, man, when he developed that jump shot, boy, he became unstoppable. So that's who SGA reminds me of most.
Larry, any comparable SGA in terms of the history of the game?
I don't really see anyone, he's pretty unique to me, but I was thinking about that question, and I was thinking George Gervin too.
Yeah.
Now, our good friend Harlan Magruder pointed out DeRozan, who I can see a similarity there too. But he's pretty unique. He's
That's why I started thinking about as I watched him. I'm like, dang, he is unique to the guys we watch because a lot of guys are high flyers or this and that. But he's got a different kind of game and it's so smooth. I was thinking George Gervin. I thought it was a combo too of George Gervin and Alex English. Denver had this guy named Alex English. He could just score.
Prolific scorer.
And he just did it smooth. He didn't do it fast. He wasn't jumping out the gym. And then look at the box score at the end of the game. He had 29. So
And it was at a time when the Nuggets were not all that good either.
He played with the Pacers before he was traded.
Right. And Greg, what'd you say?
He did that at a time when the Nuggets, when they weren't all that good.
Right.
Alex English really lit it up.
Well, one thing I think we can get from SGA is the fact that maybe we need to see more of a return to the mid-range jumper.
Yeah.
Because, every time you try to shoot a 25-footer, for 3 points, nobody's that good of a shooter.
Right.
Get in the mid-range and get a solid 2 points. Use the backboard, which they don't do enough. Use the backboard and see what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Analytics. That's the analytics people. They're telling you to step back and shoot the 3 versus step up and hit the 2. Right.
Yes.
Right. My dad played pickup ball with Sam Jones. Wow.
And Sam Jones, by the way, was only 6'4". He played like he was like 6'9", but he was only 6'4".
I don't completely remember this story, and maybe you guys could help me fill us in. Didn't Sam Jones go after Will Chamberlain with a chair one time in the playoff game? You guys remember that?
I think I heard something like that.
Like that too, yeah.
He'd have got his ass kicked.
Even with the chair. Right?
What a chair.
Right.
Go with a chair, show some intelligence.
That's right. They ain't going in there without that chair. All right, look, before we wrap up the NBA portion of our show, I want to talk about while we were gone or during the week, the All-Pro team came out. The NBA first, second, and third All-Pro team. And on the first team, it was SGA, Joker, Giannis, Tatum, and Donovan Mitchell. I was kind of surprised by that. Took me by surprise, but I think he's a good player. But I didn't know. I was wow, first team. And then Brunson, Mobley, Ant, Curry, LeBron, Halliburton, Cat, Cade, Harden, and John Williams. So my question to the group: what do you guys think of those three teams in terms of the All-Pro team? And what changes would you make if you made one? Who would you add or delete or move up or move down or whatever? If that question makes any sense. And I'll start with you, David. What's your thought?
I agree with the first team. I mean, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA. I mean,
Giannis.
goes without saying.
Yeah.
Jokic, no question.
Yeah.
Giannis, no question. Now, Jason Tatum, I can't argue that. Donovan Mitchell, he deserves to be on the first team.
Okay.
His game is solid. Now, where I have a problem,
Okay.
I would switch Halliburton, and I'm biased,
Yeah.
with Evan Mobley in the second team. I just don't think Evan Mobley has the same kind of pizzazz and importance as Halliburton. James Harden, I would take completely off this list. And nothing against him. He's still a solid player, but he's one-dimensional, and he showed it at that final game that the Clippers had. He didn't show up. He never shows up. Now, again, I know these are first, regular season awards, but James Harden, I'm tired of it.
So who would you put on if you took him off? Who do you have somebody in mind that you would put on?
I don't have anybody in mind right now,
Okay.
but I just don't think he deserves an
Deserves to
all-pro
be on that.
status. I don't.
I actually don't disagree with you about the Mobley thing. I think I would move Halliburton up and Mobley down, but I think it's because of my recent bias. I might be caught up in the playoffs, and has let that change my thoughts. Larry, any thoughts in terms of the three teams?
I'm pretty good with it. I'll just say initially, if we check any of our tapes, you would have seen me picking 4 people for sure for the first team, which would have been Tatum, SGA, Joker, and Freak, the Greek Freak. And then I was struggling between Anthony Edwards and Donovan Mitchell. And I know usually teams, Cleveland has such a good season, so that flipped the coin. But Edwards is the second leading scorer in the league too, so it was kind of tough.
Right.
As far as Halliburton and Evan Mobley had a real good year this year.
I know.
He really, I was shocked. His improvement was good. He was very good on defense.
He was defensive player of the year.
Yeah, he didn't play that well in the playoffs. I don't know in his last round, I would say.
Yeah.
But they had a pretty decent team, so I could swap them out. But I think the 15 that they got, I don't have any problem with that.
Right. So nobody in your mind was left off that you thought was so egregious that you would try to fit.
That's correct. I mean, it's people that you could consider putting on, maybe even moving up. If I like Cade Cunningham, he made third team. But I can live with what they came up with.
He's young. Greg, how about yourself? What you think of the list?
So I like the list, and Donovan Mitchell, I thought he should have been in the running for MVP. I think Donovan Mitchell, I'm a Donovan Mitchell fan. Let me tell you, I would drop Harden so fast, it would make his head spin. You can't tell me that Jaylen Brown shouldn't be on an all-star team more than Harden. Harden is not just this year, it's every year. He flops every year. How do you tell me this guy's an all NBA? No, he's not. He's an all league, maybe.
And he had a good regular season too.
Right.
But it wasn't all pro quality. It wasn't all pro quality.
I'm not sure why it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
He just disappears in the playoffs.
Jaylen Brown. I absolutely put Brown.
Yeah. Jaylen Brown's, yes, no doubt about it. He's a very good player.
That's a good one. I wouldn't have a problem with that either. Yeah. In fact, like you were saying, David, if I took Harden off, I might put Brown on.
And if you took Harden off, no NBA player would argue with you. Nobody would argue with you.
Most overrated player in the NBA.
So, last question, last point before we move out of basketball completely. Big picture, right? Big picture. So, what is your biggest surprise so far in the playoffs? Either positive or negative. What has been your singular biggest surprise, David?
The biggest surprise. Oh, that's a hard one.
Yeah.
I would say the biggest surprise is the fact that finally, and tonight is a biased night for me.
Sure, I understand.
That the Pacers have finally emerged. That's a surprise to me because I think they're a pretty good team. I did not, to be honest with you, expect that they would get this far, but they're finding themselves.
Yeah.
And that's surprising to me.
How about you, Greg? Your biggest surprise, just in big picture in terms of the playoffs.
My biggest surprise is easy. It really is. I am so surprised at the defensive job that Caruso is doing on people 5 or 6 inches taller than him. I mean, I'm like, is this guy like super strong that we just don't know about? His foot speed doesn't appear to be, anything unique, but the defensive job that he did on Joker, every series he stepped up and guarded a man much bigger than him, and he's done a good job. I'm like, wow. Obviously, they know something we don't know, but
A lot of grit.
He can knock out a shot every now and then too. So,
and he can absolutely hit the 3 ball. He can hit the 3 ball. So I'm like, yeah, that's been a shock for me.
Larry, what's your biggest surprise, big picture in terms of the playoffs in general?
Oh, it's probably the Pacers coming out of the East. I thought they were a good team. I thought they probably would face Boston and not defeat Boston, but Boston's not an issue with them now. And they're I told David a couple of weeks ago, they're peaking at the right time.
Right.
They are.
Yeah, my biggest surprise is that the Celtics went down as quickly and easily as they went down. I think they beat the Knicks all 4 times this year during the regular season, and then they're out the playoffs. So that was kind of my biggest surprise. Anything else about the NBA playoffs before we move on? And this is good exchange back and forth and so forth. We're going to briefly talk about the WNBA real quick.
It'll be interesting to see which coaches survive because it'll be a bloody massacre, and then it'll be interesting to see which playoff coaches don't survive.
Hey, Sharice, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Sharice.
Hey, Sharice.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's on hard.
Sharice sounds like Harden, boy. That boy.
Tired of it.
Beating
Tired
him
of
like
that
a
beer.
rented mule. Oh, we've beaten him like a rented mule.
All right, well, let's talk about the WNBA real quick. It's been a couple weeks. Of course, the WNBA and the Indiana Fever took a little bit of a. Oh, wait, one last thing before we move on for the NBA. How you guys feel about the refereeing in this in the playoffs?
I'm glad you brought
quick
that up.
thoughts on that?
Ooh.
I think they're consistent. They're letting them play more physical, but they're consistent both ends of the court. Long as they're consistent, I'm okay with it.
It don't always look consistent to me, but I got it. Greg, any thoughts about that?
That's my exact. I love letting them play, but they call it on one end trip down the floor, and then they don't call it the other end, and that creates a problem. It's like a moving strike zone in baseball. If you got an umpire that calls the low around the knees outside, next time up he calls that, and if they're consistent, it's good. I think these guys have been painfully inconsistent. I don't mind letting them play. I mean, I think letting them play is good, but it's like the foul that got into the Pistons. Now, normally they call that the kid shooting the 3 ball and getting basically knocked out of bounds. That didn't decide to play the game. I think the game was decided before that. But the spotlight gets on that. So I don't think they've been very consistent. I don't.
Greg, let me be clear. That doesn't mean they're not going to miss some calls.
No, true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nobody, they're going to miss calls regardless how they do it. But I like the fact that they allow a little more physicality, and I see it allowed on both ends.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not disturbed by the officiating. I really am not, because we could pick apart officiating every year, every game.
Yeah.
Okay. They're gonna make some bad calls. I mean, that's just fact of life.
Just call it both ways on both ends. I'm good with it. You can let them wrestle. I don't care if you let them wrestle, but call it on both ends. I don't care.
It's so funny that I think the Knicks have been going to the line a lot, and yet I just think Brunson and Cat get beat up a lot, but I don't see the call. I mean, the Pacers are out there touching, pushing, and they don't. Team look,
But they grab it when they run by, they hook them and everything.
There's a lot of hooking going on.
Cat does that almost every time.
Yeah.
And Brunson does it a lot too. If they're not gonna call it, let it go.
And Cat grabs, since you know Cat lazy, man. Cat grabs somebody every time. Big Cat's lazy, man.
I don't know why. I don't know why I did this.
Cat is adjusting to what the referees are not calling, Greg. They're not calling it.
But Cat is overall lazy. Big Cat is lazy.
I don't know why I did this. I keep watching Cat, and I think it's maybe because he's got those skinny ankles, but his feet look like they are huge.
Yeah,
So somehow I looked up his foot size. That dude wear a 20. I can't imagine walking in Nordstrom's and like, hey, do you have this in a 20?
Well, he's 7 feet tall now.
I
Come
know,
on.
but dang, his feet look so big. All right, well, good. Let's get into the WNBA real quick. And I don't want to go super deep. It's only been a couple weeks. And boy, the Fever just got a big blow because I see Caitlin Clark's going to be down for a couple weeks. And they've gone off to a 2-2 start, which is kind of a slow start for them. They, I think. Any general assessment or general observations early on? I know that Minnesota's 5-0, New York's 4-0, Phoenix is 4-1. Any observations, David, initially about the WNBA so far?
Hit some damn layups. I'm so sick and tired of watching WNBA players miss layups. It's disconcerting. I appreciate what Caitlin Clark has brought to the WNBA, but some of the play on the court is substandard, and they've got to improve that a little bit.
I'm a fan, big time of Caitlin, but I also thought her first few games, she had a monster first game, but the next couple of games, I didn't think she was super special. And in that game they lost to the Fever, I was a little bit disappointed with her at the end, but that's okay. That's neither here nor there. I love her to death. Greg, any general observations about the WNBA so far?
Man, attendance. It is incredible. And I didn't realize since she got drafted, WNBA ticket sales have increased 93%. 93%. In 2023, they averaged 4,067 tickets a game. 24 through 18 games, they had 17,036 average. This year, they're averaging 17,000. I'm sorry. This year, they're averaging 17,036 per game, and the champion Liberty is second at 12,000. So there's a big gap.
Now, just to be clear, you're talking about the Fever's attendance.
Yes, the Fever's attendance. Yes. So
versus the other,
versus the other teams, but the attendance that she brings, and it's because this 3-ball mania. I'm telling you, and here's what I didn't realize: the 3-ball was introduced in the NBA in 79-80. I didn't realize it went back that far. The culture has evolved to that being, and that's carried over into the WNBA. So the Caitlin Fever is just like her Allstate commercial from the logo. If I got a logo, I can drop it. All I need is
just a little history about the three-pointer. The three-pointer preceded the ABA, the American Basketball League, I believe is what it was called in the early 1960s. I think they lasted for 2 seasons, and they had a three-point shot. Yeah. And it was adopted by the ABA in 1967 when the ABA was founded. And once the ABA merged, the 4 teams from the ABA merged into the NBA, there were 3 seasons without a three-point shot.
And that's what the WNBA, what Caitlin has brought to the WNBA that wasn't there, I think, before she got there, is a legitimate 3-ball shooter that people are just going crazy over. That's the Caitlin effect. I think that's the Caitlin effect. And if you don't have somebody on your team that can do that, your attendance is going to.
You're on to something, even though I think it's a little more complicated than that, because there have been other ladies who can shoot that 3-ball, like Ionescu from the Liberty. But you're on to something, Greg. She just has a thing, a magic about
the way she does it. Is something about how she does it is different.
It's hard to put your finger on.
She's got a swagger to her game.
The eyes are on her. That's what it is.
The eyes are on her, but her style of play, she's confident, just the way in which she presents herself on the court. You can sometimes see that in players. That's what everybody's trying to pump up Ant because he has swag to his game in the NBA. And they're trying to make him the face of the NBA because of the style of play. And the style of play matters.
I know they picked up some new players on the Fever team. They got a new coach. It just seemed like the first few games this year, she was a little bit less aggressive, firing three balls. In fact, one of those games was the first time I think she said since high school she did not have a three.
Well, this is the only 3 players remain from last season on the Fever.
Right, they gutted that team. Yeah.
And so I see her facilitating more. Anyway, she's going to be fine. They're going to be fine. I just hope she gets back and doesn't have that injury all year long. Larry, any thoughts about the W? And by the way, okay, anything you want to say about the WNBA?
I've seen the Fever play a couple of times, and I'll just caution everybody. And I think you guys mentioned it. They have new players on their team. Let them get used to playing with each other. Yeah. They were saying the same thing when Caitlin first got there in Boston, and I was saying back then, let them get used to playing with each other.
A new coach too.
New York's team is pretty solid. They're familiar. They still got 2 former WNBA players of the year with John Quill Jones from Riverdale Baptist High School, as well as another big girl there, Stewart.
Brianna.
So they're off to a good start.
Brianna Stewart.
One of our favorite players plays for Minnesota. Collier, who came in second. Professor Collier, and they did well in the playoffs last year. And they had that continuity too, where they didn't have a whole lot of turnover in their team. Now, my local team, which was supposed to be the worst team in the league, they actually started off winning their first 2 games. They had three of the top draft picks. One of them tore ACL already, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But they've been entertaining when I watched them. I've seen them lose a couple of games that were close.
Yeah.
I like basketball, and to me, the women's game is fine.
Yeah. Brittany Griner's gone over to the Atlanta team. I think they picked up another player, and they look pretty good too. They played the Fever. They beat the Fever one of those games in the second game.
The Fever and Atlanta split.
Right, they split their 2 games, right. So shout out to the WNBA. I hope they have a great year. We're going to be monitoring and talking about them every week. So that's good for them. Okay, NFL real quick. The only thing I wanted to ask you guys about the NFL, unless you guys had something, and we can do a round robin if you'd like, but the only question I had of the group is, so Cincinnati has this defensive end who led the league in sacks, and Trey Hendrickson, but they seem to not be able to sign him, or they haven't signed him yet. Or so do you think they're going to sign him? Do you think they'll trade him? Because they also signed their wide receivers. They spent a lot of money. They got the Burrows that's tied up with a lot of money. They're the cheapest team in the freaking league, in my opinion, historically. Do you think Trey Hendrickson will be with the Bengals, David?
Yes. They have no choice. I mean, the Bengals, Mike Brown, and he's another Mike Brown. Mike Brown, the owner of the Bengals, is notoriously cheap, substandard facilities, but he's got caught with a good team and a good quarterback and good receivers. He's got to pay. The expectations in Cincinnati, a city that I really like and have visited many times, they deserve better. So I think Hendrickson will be.
Get the deal done. How about you, Greg? You think they'll get that deal done, or he'll be with another team next year?
No, he will not be there this year. He will not be there, and I'll tell you why. First of all, you're right. Cincinnati is notoriously cheap. They are cheaper than Fred Mertz. They are cheap, man. And here's what they've done. This is a real problem. They insulted this guy. 30 days before OTAs, they threatened him that if he didn't come to camp, he would be fine. Now that's in the middle of negotiations. You don't threaten it. This is a God-fearing, professed Christian, born-again Christian. And if you watch how he carries himself, he doesn't have some, hootenanny celebration. He just proceeds to sack quarterbacks left and right. He is the most quiet assassin in the NFL. Part of me is I'm just so desperate for the Commanders to get a great edge rusher. Maybe that's part of my bias, right? Maybe. But I'm telling you, I think the mistake they made, and I listened to him talk, this guy is legitimately upset. He's absolutely personally upset that they would even make a threat like that about finding him. And he said, no, I got to reassess the whole situation now. Like that was a bad idea.
Bad idea.
Yeah. Larry, you think? What do you think? He'll be back. They might move him. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he'll be back. I think they're in a negotiation part. It doesn't,
Gets ugly sometimes. Yeah.
Greg, what they stated was already going to happen. If you miss camp, you do get fined. I mean,
They didn't have to say that though. He knew that. They didn't have to.
I know, but I think
it's all on television.
It's all public posturing.
Yeah.
Cincinnati has great offense. They have no defense. He's all pro. They need to sign him, and he knows that. So all he has to do is not get too upset about it. Just hold his ground. They'll bring him there.
Anything else about the NFL that's jumped out at you guys this past week? Maybe the tush. Maybe you guys care enough about the tush push.
The tush push got saved. So
yeah.
I mean,
anything jump out at you about the NFL this week?
No, I'm good.
Larry?
Yeah, I'm wait till the season starts.
I know, really. I mean, every week got to fill in the spaces. All right. I think that's the bulk of what I wanted to get into today. Unless you guys have something you wanted to talk about, we'll get into closing comments. All right, let's get into the closing comments. David, we'll start with you. Do you have any closing comments this week?
It's very simple. I think what we're seeing, and again, tonight is a biased night for me. Probably the whole playoff season is me with my Pacer bias. But what I appreciate, what I see with Tyrese Halliburton is a sense of, if you believe in yourself enough, if you try hard enough, good things will happen. And he is an example of really believing in himself and changing how he is approaching the game, and he's changing the fortunes of the team.
It was good to see his father back in the building yesterday, and just up in the suite. And I thought that was pretty cool of the Pacers accommodating that. So good for them. Also, you guys have 3 people on that 2020 draft class: Halliburton, Nesmith, and Obi Toppin. All 3 of them are from that 2020.
Pacers front office has not been given enough credit for what they've done.
The organization is pretty amazing. Kudos. You make me, and thank you, David, for being nice to me today and not crushing all the bad stuff I've said about Halliburton. I thought that was a lot of class.
Well, you've been wrong enough times. I didn't need to beat up on you.
Gregory, any closing comments?
No, I don't have any closing comments.
Yes. Larry, do you have a closing comment tonight?
Yeah, baseball. I'm gonna take my hat off to Aaron Judge, who started this year off hitting around 400. I think he's got 18 home runs. I think Schwarber and Ohtani are close on with home runs, but neither one of them hit anywhere near 400.
400.
Oh my goodness. And he didn't get one of those barrel bats. He's doing it with the old bat.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take my hat off to him, and I'm tuning into baseball as basketball winds up.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, I was noticing he was batting 412. The second place guy, which Goldsmith was on his own team, he was batting 351. He was batting 412, and the second place guy was batting 351. I don't know where it is now, but he's having a hell of a year.
351 is a great average, and you still trailing by 60 or 70 points.
I wonder if Soto, who's off to a slow start, I wonder if Soto wishes he had never. I don't know why Soto left that protection to have Aaron Judge in that lineup with him, but that's
money.
Top paid player in baseball.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes, he is.
Well, listen, guys, you guys were absolutely, as always, spectacular. I appreciate the candor and the back and forth. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate the support and you guys checking us out. On that note, we'll see you next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. For Real Fellas Talk Sports.